Assalamualaikum. I am Sahara, currently teaching in SMK Jerai. I hope everyone is doing good during this tough time. Really hope that everything will be back to normal very soon. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I would like to thank everyone who joined us today. Delta is always grateful for all the support given by all of you. We have two experts with us today. First and foremost, I would like to introduce our moderator, Madam Khalifa Mastura binti Khalid, or known as Kak Mas. Khalifa Mastura Khalid is an English educator at Kedah Engineering Matriculation College. She has obtained her Bachelor of Education in TEFL and her Master degree in TESOL. Her research work is related to upgrading writing skills and ability of matriculation students in Malaysia. She has presented her research papers and innovation projects in various conferences and innovation competitions at national and international levels since 2009 up to now. She holds the title of Excellent Lecturer, which is Pensyarah Cemerlang for English since 2010. Isn't it great? And we have our charming speaker for today, who is Dr.Mohd Sirhajwan Idek, with us in this platform. Without a further ado, I would like to pass today's session to our lovely Kak Mas and Dr. Sirhajwan. Let us welcome them.
Thank you, Sarah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our session today with the one and only Dr. Mohd Sirhajwan bin Idek. In our session, tips and tricks in developing your innovative practice as an English language educator. All right. So, but please do not, be scared off with the phrase as an English language educator, yeah? Because actually this session is open to everyone, right? It's a public session, and even though Dr. Sirhajwan will be dealing with us mostly in English, but he's willing to answer question posed in Bahasa Melayu as well. No problem with that, yeah? Okay, Doctor, how are you?
I'm good. Hi. How are you?
Dr. Sirhajwan to be fine, thank you. I'm good. How are you? All right. Good to have you here with us, Doctor. Alhamdulillah. Thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation to be with us in Delta today. Right. Okay. Everything is good in Sabah?
Yeah. It's a nice weather today.
All right, Alhamdulillah. Okay, viewers. Actually, I have planned ahead to brief to introduce Dr. Sirhajwan. Okay, but it seems that he has prepared everything in his slides, so I will just introduce him briefly. Yeah, a bit of Dr. Mohd Sirhajwan. Okay, he is an English language teacher at Keningau Vokasional College Sabah since 2012. Right, and it was his first posting and has been there since then. So it's 9 years already. Yeah, he earned his bachelor's degrees, master's degree, and PhD from UiTM Shah Alam in 2011, 2014, and 2019 respectively. Yeah, he has been recognized for his various projects in English language teaching. Yeah, and we will be listening to his experience, all his knowledge, and everything regarding innovation in these 2 hours. Yeah, and please, I would like to invite everyone just to say hi or hello or assalamualaikum in the chat box, and just state where you are from so that we know with whom we are dealing with. Yeah, everyone, thank you so much for that. All right, so without further ado, I will pass the session to Dr. Sirhajwan. All right, Doctor, are you okay now?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Over to you, Doctor.
So hi everybody. Just like what has been introduced before, I'm Mr. Sirhajwan Idek. I'm an English language teacher. I'm currently teaching at Keningau Vokasional College, Sabah, Malaysia. And basically, I was born here and I grew up here. So before I start, I would like to express my appreciation to Mr. Zanuddin bin Muhammad Safar, the president of Delta, and Delta stands for Darul Aman English Language Learning and Teaching Association, as well as our lovely moderator, Madam Khalifa Masturah binti Khalid, as well as the organizing team of this webinar. And I'd like to welcome our participants, our listeners today. So I'm going to share some of my experience, some of the things I've learned, and some of the things I've done in the past few years, and some of the opportunities that you might want to give it a try. You'll never know. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen right now. Okay, so you guys can ask questions. Uh, I'm looking at the YouTube too, so you can ask questions. You can type your questions there in English or in Malay. So I'm going to share my screen right now. Hi everybody. There. Okay, so innovative educator. It's going to hide this thing. And then I'll kind of like this as a pointer. Ooh. So yeah, it's about being innovative educator. I believe that all of us teachers, school teachers, primary school teachers, secondary school teachers, if you are teaching at tertiary educational institutions, you are educator, and we have our own practice, and we believe our practice is unique. It's an innovative practice. So what I'm going to hope that I can inspire you guys to do, show you some ways on how to develop your practice so that it will be more exciting and it will be more impactful, or at least you are able to identify which platform that you would like to share and develop your practice further. So I do not mean to brag or show off, but just to show you guys, of the countless possibilities, opportunities out there for you to, just to go for, just to give it a try, just to experience it, and you never know, you might get lucky. And also to show, when for you to feel motivated and inspired. So in the past few years, since 2016, I have been recognized with some of my work, and some of them are specifically for English language teaching. In 2016, I won scholarship Teacher at My Heart, and I went to UK for 2 weeks. Okay, so that's me. In 2017, I was a finalist. I was a global teacher finalist. I was a global teacher prize finalist. So I went to Dubai for 1 week. Um, Other than me, there are other teachers in Malaysia. I think there are about 9 of us Malaysians who have been listed as Global Teacher Prize finalists. So you should definitely give this a try. In 2017, I went to Paris and I presented. I took part in this competition that was a part of a conference, and I got first place. In 2018, I won a scholarship, and that scholarship involved with that scholarship, I went to UK for 2 weeks to present at Yatafel, one of the largest conference for English language educators in 2018. And I didn't just attend the conference. I was given one session where I was able to present my work. And in 2018, I became the first Malaysian to win Senior Australia Education Link Award. So I won about Australian dollar 10,000 Australian dollars. So that's almost 30,000 ringgit Malaysia. So you definitely can apply for Senior Australia Education Link Award, maybe for the next cycle. And in 2019, I won ISTE, International Society for Technology in Education Literacy Innovation Award, which was based in the US. Okay, other than me, there have been few, or at least one Malaysian teacher who have won this award. So you'll never know. So I know that I don't want to send the wrong message. Like as teachers, what do? We just go out there and win, 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 which is okay. It's exciting. It's very motivating, and I hope it's very inspiring. But it's a form of recognition to your work, your hard work, to the impact that you have delivered to your students. And also it's a way of you to improve yourself so that you can further amplify and expand your impact on people around you, your students, your peers, your colleagues. So it's pretty exciting. So this was pretty much from 2016 to 2019. Now in 2018, and I was like, I'm sorry, since last year, 2020, and now I felt like it's time for me to try things in a different way. I don't want to do things individually anymore. I want to have a team. It's fun to have a team, and I want to explore new areas. Now, I think most of you here are English language teachers. The thing about English language teachers, with English language itself, and this is the thing that we can teach our students about, is that it's a weapon. You can pretty much explore anything. You can pretty much incorporate English into many areas. So when you look at this one, me and Mr. Khalifa and Mr. Ibrahim, and they are both, and all three of us are English language teachers. We won the Wisely Seat for the Future in 2020, and we got a grant worth of 45,000 ringgit Malaysia. All right. So as you can see, we are all three of us are English language teachers, and our project was related to STEM: science, technology, engineering, math. So you definitely can apply for Wisely Seat for the Future. It's an annual competition. I'll talk more about it later. So yeah, it's when you are an English language teacher, you can definitely go further, explore more. But I'm not saying that if you are not English teachers, you can't do this. Obviously, you can, but you can see how important English language teaching is, because for English language teachers, I think most of us are English language teachers here. We always feel the need to find justification why people need to learn English. Not just the students, but also other teachers who don't teach English. And then when you look at here, me and Nurazila, she's also an English language teacher. We became the first winner of Simon Green All Award, which is based in the UK, and we won about 8,700. The award, it's a new award. It was launched early 2021, and our project, we focused on arts. So that's the exciting thing about being a team. But obviously, I started as an individual, and then after some time, I feel like let's go for something where we can work as a team. So there are many types of innovation. As you can see here, these are some of the teachers at my school. An innovation can be a teaching technique. Okay, so you can see here that's a teacher at my school, Sumandak. If you are Sabahan, you might be familiar with that word. So she used TikTok in her teaching style. So that's a technique. That means that your innovation is a form of technique. You are using materials that already exist, like TikTok is a social media platform that already exists. Everyone has access to it, but you can develop a technique how to use it. How can it be an effective learning technique, a learning strategy? So that's an innovation in the form of technique. But your innovation, like this year, these are my colleagues too, can be in the form of material. So material, it can be, you develop a board game, you develop a module, you develop a worksheet, or if it's a technology based, like a mobile app, website. So it's pretty much materials. All right. And your innovation can also be a project. So a project, it's pretty much a collection of activities. It might have some techniques on it, it might have some materials, but a project, it's a collection of activities that might have a specific theme or specific concept. So among the three, obviously, the one that I usually go for is educational project. But if you have technique, if you have materials, all of these can be interrelated. You can have a teaching technique. You have developed a teaching technique, and you feel like you want to expand it to a project, okay, that's fine. If you have developed a project, just a set a collection of activities, and you feel like you want to develop a material out of it, so that's possible too. Okay, so when it comes to English language teaching, language, what do we focus on? Usually, when we teach language, we basically focus on teaching language skills, and there are four language skills. That's listening, speaking, reading, and writing. So it can be more. Some people say viewing is a skill, uh, thinking is a skill, but universal skills will be just these four skills. Now, these four skills, usually when we teach, we won't be teaching one skill at a time in isolation. All of these skills are related. If you are teaching listening, that means somebody must be speaking, and then it might involve a little bit of reading and writing. Okay, so usually when it comes to English language teaching, whatever that we do, it revolves around these four language skills. And we tend to look at the different aspects of language. It can be form, like grammar, sentence structure, pronunciation. We focus more on form, or it can be content, the information in the output, in the student's production of output. And it can include vocabulary. It can also include your word knowledge and world knowledge. Okay, their knowledge about the words uh, in English, and also their knowledge about the world. Or it can be also about use. So the application of language in a real life context that is usually influenced by many variables. So when we do innovation, this is basically what we will be looking at. So for my presentation today, I'm splitting it into three parts. So the first part is that it's called getting started. I'll talk briefly about two techniques that I have developed, AIE, Accumulate, Investigate, Evaluate, and Wonderzone. But most important thing is that I'll be using these as examples to explain these techniques, 5Y, Lotus Blossom, and Ideation as a way of you to brainstorm ideas, to start finding out the problems that you would like to focus on and solve. So that's where your innovation is. On the second stage, ideation, I'm going to talk about three projects that I've done before, Zombie Challenge Series, Think Tales, and Visual Literacy. And I'll be looking at technical aspects of ideation, including presentation and writing. Okay, problem statement, target group, devising a solution, objective, monitoring, plan and evaluation, replicability, scalability, sustainability, and we call it the anchor. And the third part, I call it go for it. So this one is pretty exciting. These are the opportunities that you can go for, and you might win it. You might win at least one of these, or maybe all of them. Okay, so you definitely can try this. I think about one or two of them are specifically for English language educators, but most of them are pretty much general. So this is one of the techniques that I have developed to teach my students on how to gather information, analyze information, and evaluate information. So it is more like a form of technique. The first part they use, the first stage of the task is that they use KWL charts to find out, to gather more information, and they start developing their own questions using question metrics or Q metrics to analyze or to find out more about the subject matter that they have chosen. And the last one, six thinking hat, they are looking at the topic or the subject matter from different perspectives. So it's pretty much like an innovative technique. It's not so much of a material or project. So why did I do that? Because I wanted to tackle student superficial understanding and lack of knowledge. So the innovative technique is the three thinking tools. The problem that I was trying to solve is the students' lack of general knowledge and or they might know about it, but they have very superficial understanding of it. So the objective is to train students to be more critical of online information, how they get the information, where do they get the information, how are they going to evaluate its credibility, and the validity of its sources. And it's pretty much consistent with the theory. When it comes to literature here, it's pretty much consistent with the theory, media, and information literacy. So this is my student, Fredo Fu. So as you can see here, he was doing a classroom presentation. So he was looking at different sources of information on COVID-19. And he looked at website. Actually, he made a mistake. This is the website, pretty much Wikipedia, and this was online news, and then social media, which was Facebook. So looking at getting information from different sources of online resources, not just one, because most students relied on social media. So one of the techniques that we can use to find out the root problem of the root cause of a certain problem, it's called 5 why. It's the easiest one. So why is it 5 why? Because you ask why 5 times. Why? And then you're supposed to be, you should be able to find out the root cause, or at least you are able to get closer to it. So let's look at this example. It's a very simple example. Why the vehicle will not start? That's the problem. The vehicle, it just doesn't start. So why? Why is it not starting? Because the battery is dead. That's the first why. And why is the battery dead? Because the alternator is not functioning. And why is it not functioning? Because the alternator belt has broken. So that's the third why. And why? Why did that happen? Well, the alternator belt was well beyond its useful service life and it has not been replaced. So that's the fourth why. But why? Why is it not replaced? Because the vehicle was not maintained according to the recommended service schedule. Okay, so that's the fifth why, and it's believed to be the root cause of why the vehicle will not start. So it might look very simplistic, but it's a way of identifying the root cause of a problem and not just focusing on the symptoms. So this was the one that I did. Now, usually in English class, like the students, when you conducted speaking activities and you asked them questions, it seemed like they didn't know much. No, they didn't know about that. They didn't know about this. And the same thing goes with writing. They didn't know what to write. They didn't really know what examples that they need to cite. And it's odd because the students had access to internet. And usually during my class, I always, had internet in my class so that the students could access it. So obviously the students, they know a lot of things. They might know many things, but they had superficial understanding of it despite their access to social media. So I began to ask why. Why? Well, obviously they lack general knowledge. And why don't they, why didn't they know much about what's going on in the world? Because they might read a lot of things from social media, but they had limited analytical reading. It's a form of reading where they really analyze the information. And why? Well, because they are less reading of multiple sources of information. They were not getting the information from multiple sources of information. And why is it maybe from just one or two sources of information? And why did that happen? Because they relied too much on social media as the source of information. They just look at the Facebook, they scroll down, and that's it. That's what they find out about the world. They didn't bother to check other sources of information. So we asked why. Why did they rely too much on social media? Because social media it's personalized and it's customized to everyone's daily habits. So if you like to search information about one particular topic, so that's the kind of information, or that's the kind of information that your social media account will be tailored to that particular topics, or any topics related to it that you like to search. So you might not be able to find out anything beyond that. Okay, so that's an example for it. So let's look at it. As you can see, the main problem is that students, well, pretty much everyone, their social media account is customized or personalized to suit their daily habits. So if the students like to search information about PUBG, so most of the information that they're going to get from their social media. It's about esports, it's about video games. So they wouldn't be getting much information about other topics that might be more important. So we try to brainstorming a solution. Okay, so we know that the students might be invested in searching or finding out something that concerns them, something that they think is important for them to know. And they might also need to learn to search for information beyond the social gratification. That means they might need to learn, when they want to find out about something, they need to search on online news, they search on Wikipedia or an encyclopedia. So they just can't rely on, say, Facebook. They just access their Facebook, and that's it. It meets the social gratification, but that's it. They don't feel like searching any more information about other things or from other sources. They need to be exposed to other sources of information, like online news, blogs that might be more reliable. What we know is that most of the students, if not all, they have access to internet, one thing for sure, so we can use that. They might not be good in English, but we know very well that, if they have access to internet, they can translate anything to English, right, from their native language. They need to have deeper understanding of what they are searching for. So, when they are looking for something, it's not just about reading the first 2, 3 sentences. They need to have deeper understanding of it. They need to have strategies on how to search and analyze information, and they need to be able to search for something specific and not just searching something in a very general way. But yeah, maybe they can start with that, but they need to be able to narrow it down. Okay. So this is what we call as Lotus Blossom. It's a technique where you do brainstorm around something. If you look at this, it's a website. So let's say this example, it illustrates how a company tries to innovate their website. So they try to improve how it looks and how it feels. They try to improve its speed. They can offer coupons on their website. They can advertise the site. They can do cross-site promotion. That means different websites being promoted. They can have signs around the store that shows the website link or address. They can order people to order. They can let people purchase their products from the website. They can also let people to return their products through the website. So as you can see here, it's a technique of brainstorming. It's a Lotus Blossom. You can use them to break down factors about factors on why certain things happen, or you can also use it to find other alternatives on how to do something. So let's look at this one, playground equipment. So the problem is a lot of the children, they don't spend much time in the playground. They go to the playground for just 10 minutes, 20 minutes, and they leave. So this company, they want to improve, they want to the children to spend longer time at the playground. So they thought about this. They thought about slide, adding more swings, adding tire swing, jungle gym. But then you can see one factor was slightly different. It's parents. So let's focus on drawing or attracting more parents to the playground. And you can narrow it down. Here it's parents. So here it's parents, and then they can surround it with the things that they think, if they have these facilities in the playground, it might encourage parents to stay longer at the playground. So why do they have to do it? Because they realize that the children, they it's not that they do not like being at the playground. They like being at the playground, but it's the parents who don't like to be at the playground because there is no internet, there is no exercise equipment. They cannot charge their mobile phone. So by adding the things that can attract parents or adults, it will help the children to stay longer at the playground. So with this Lotus Blossom, it might help you in brainstorming technique. So it might be too technical. I know you don't have to exactly do it such way, but it's just to show you guys how beneficial and how important brainstorming is. So if you feel like you are at that stage where you're trying to find out what your idea is, or you're trying to search for a problem in your classroom or at your school that you're trying to solve, you are coming up with an idea. So take out a piece of paper, and then you might want to start brainstorming, because brainstorming really helps. So just now, ideation, I'm going to show you some of the techniques, some of the prompts that might help me come up with an idea. So what do I know? Now I know the six thinking tools, KWL, six thinking hats, Q-metrics. These are part of the I Think program. We had them few years ago. So I knew about this. I remember attending a talk about this. I remember reading a website about this. So what do I have access to? So I have computer rooms. I like to take my class to computer rooms, or I can just bring my internet to the class. So what have I discovered? I learned more about information literacy. Now, how can I make it relevant? Now, I want to use these thinking tools. I want to use computer rooms so my students can access internet. I've read about information literacy. I think it's something that my students should learn. So how can it be relevant in your class? It might fit reading comprehension most, because there are four skills: reading, writing, speaking, listening. Basically, you can fit it into anything, but the reading comprehension is the closest one, where it really where your tools and techniques suit most. So my idea is that to get the students to use these thinking tools to search for information on the internet, so they can be at the computer rooms or in the classroom, but with access to internet, so they can find out, gather and read, get more information from different articles, from different resources. So it's a reading comprehension, and then they will learn to evaluate information. So that's pretty much what I did to develop the technique. So that technique, I took part at an online conference last year for an e-learning excellence award, and I was a finalist. I didn't win, but it's a great experience, and it's something that it helped me to further expand and develop my idea. And also my students, I asked my students to take part in a competition, a hackathon by UNESCO in 2019. And they did this. They did exactly the same technique, KWL, Qmatics, and Six Thinking Hat. And they won the Community Innovation Award. So for this hackathon, it's my students who are representing our school. And, I was there, but I wasn't like the presenting individuals. But you can always take part in hackathon too. Okay, so another project that I've developed, it's called Wonder Zone. So since I'm teaching at a vocational school, vocational college, we have students who are specialized in early childhood education. So early childhood education, so these students of mine, they always deal with children. That's what they do. So I took them to schools around Keningau primary schools, and they conducted all sort of activities, activities like breakfast preparation, hygiene activities, some games that are related to science. So with these activities, is that I use them, my students who conduct the activities on children at primary schools, I encourage them to use four types of sentences. There are four types of sentences: declarative, which is pretty much statement; interrogative, questions; imperative, it's like instructions; and also exclamatory. So basically, it's an exclamation. It's the way you say it. So, and then when I ask my students to do this, my students, these two are my students, that's my student, that lady's my student. Okay, these were the children. So obviously they need to use declarative sentences where they need to explain, like, my name is Grace and this is my friend. Today we will be doing a coloring activity. So, it's a real use of the language. What sentence? Declarative sentence. And then they can use interrogative sentence, obviously, to ask questions. Did you take your bath this morning? What did Mrs. Wishy-Washy say? So, it's a practical application of the language. And this one, it's interrogative sentence. And then they can use imperative sentence to give instructions, because they were going to conduct activities with the children. So they need to get they needed to get the children to do something. So that's where imperative sentence became useful. Okay? They were giving instructions to the children. Now take 2 slices of bread, now spread the sardine on the bread. And then finally, they use exclamatory sentences to give the children encouragement. Like, keep up the amazing work. Like, that's awesome. It's how you say it. So it's the practical application of language that they use when they were conducting these activities at primary schools. So let's look at the 5 whys again. Now, the most common problem that we face, I think, generally, is that the students couldn't construct sentences properly, whether it's in an oral form or written form. And why? Why did that happen? Why does that always happen? Because the students, they lack uh, understanding of vocabulary and grammar. And why did they have such a lack? Why didn't they have much knowledge and lack the skills to use the vocabulary and grammar? Because they are exposed less to English language in their daily life. So most of the time they will be speaking in their mother tongue. And when they go out there, they will be listening to people speaking in their own mother tongue, Malay language, or it can be any other languages. And why did that happen? Basically, it gave them the limit. They had limited environment where the language is being spoken for authentic purposes. So they might be exposed to English language in the from television, from the internet, but in real life, in actual face-to-face interaction on daily basis, it's English isn't used. So obviously, the root cause is that uh, there's no why are they in in a limited environment? Why are they in the environment where English language is being used minimally or is not being used at all? Because there's no necessity to speak the language. Obviously, if you can speak a language, if you are good in a language that everybody else understands, so you might just want to speak the language. You won't be speaking a language that you don't really understand, you are not really good at, and then other people are not really good at. So that might be the root cause of the problem, right? And then when it comes to brainstorming a solution, so again, what I'm showing you here is the Lotus Blossom. So the students, they need a purpose, they need environment, they need the environment, they need the motivation, they need to rehearse the language. They need real life experience where they are able to use the language. They need to be provided with some templates that they can use. They need actual people they can interact with, and and they need to do something that they are interested in order for them to to be able to like really focus and concentrate and become committed in what they do. Okay, so I'm using the same technique just now, ideation. So you ask yourself, what do I know? And then I know about project-based learning. I think all of us, we know about project-based learning. What do I have access to? Well, at my school, Vocational College, we have a school bus, and we can go to primary schools around us because, well, especially when we have students who are specialized in early childhood education. Now, what have I discovered? So I was looking at some textbooks, some articles, and I relearned about the 4 types of sentences. And I felt like, okay, I can use these 4 types of sentences for my students to be able to use them in real life, in English program. How can I make it relevant? So obviously the outreach program, the program where my students went to primary schools and conducted activities in English language. So I guess you can say it can be, it is consistent with HIP program, highly immersive program. So that's where I came up with the project. All right. So with that idea, I submitted it for Yatafel Express Publishing Scholarship for Yatafel Conference in 2017 for 2018 conference, and I was selected as the winner. So when I won this Express Publishing Scholarship, okay, you can definitely check it out on the internet. It's still open for 2022, and in 2022 in the UK, they are organizing a face-to-face in-person conference, and I think hopefully we will be able to travel. okay, for fully vaccinated, especially for those who have been fully vaccinated. Now, I have been fully vaccinated about 2 months ago. So there, I was so lucky. I was so happy when I won this scholarship with that idea. So here I was presenting my work, the Wonder Zone. You can see a Wonder Zone at a conference at one of the 20 parallel sessions in the UK. And I had a room with 200 seats, and I had over 200 participants. Some of the participants, they were standing, and the room was very large. I didn't expect to have so many people in the room. And when you look at this newspaper, I think some of you might not be able to see it clearly, but that's Scott Thornbury, the guy on that man is is Scott Thornbury. When I was at UITM doing my bachelor's degree, and when I was doing my master's degree, I like to study. Not I like, but when I was in bachelor's degree program, I had Scott Thornbury's books were some of the books that we had to read and learn. And when I was doing my research at master's degree, when I was taking my master's degree, I cited his work a lot. And I was so excited when I won this Express Publishing Scholarship to present at Yatafel conference. Scott Thornbury was appointed to become my mentor. He was there. He was speaking to me. He was listening to my presentation. He gave me my feedback, and I was so happy. I mean, for you to study somebody's work and admire the person's work, cite the person's work in your work, and then one day you are able to meet this person. So obviously, you guys need to check out the scholarship and also the Yatafel conference, because the Yatafel conference is like a red carpet event for English language educators. You are going to see a lot of English language TESOL authors and scholars at the conference. Okay, and my students also presented the same project at it's a competition for school students, global goal competition. So usually what I do is that when I have a project, I'll compete, I'll take part in a competition with me representing that project, and sometimes there are competitions where I will ask my students to represent me, and I'll just mentor them in that competition. So the next sub activity that I'm going to talk about, the next project that I'm going to talk about is called Zombie Challenge Series. So the Zombie Challenge Series, so this was the poster that I developed and I presented at a innovation contest before. Excuse me. At an innovation contest before. So it's about zombie. It's a zombie themed series of activities. It's based on the concept of gamification. I think you guys are familiar with gamification. It has 4 levels: a zombie escape, zombie defense, zombie war, and it's not zombie war. There's another one. I made a mistake typing it. So I came up with this idea when we had this 2-day course, and there's a 2-day course that we had to do, and we wanted to do it in English, and we wanted to turn it into an exciting program, an exciting event. So we decided to do something based on the concept of gamification to gamify the whole thing. So gamification is the incorporation of the elements of video games. When you play video games, you have points, you have badges, you have levels, you have rules, and you incorporate these elements into non-game context. In this case, like classroom activities. Because classroom activities, most of them, the face-to-face, in-person, physical classes, they don't really have elements of gamification. Now, this was before the pandemic. I think when the pandemic happened, a lot of us have used many digital tools in our classroom, in our lessons, including video games. So gamification and game-based learning, they are completely 2 different things. Game-based learning, it's a learning that is where you are actually use video games as a part of your activity. Gamification is an activity that has been infused with the elements of video games. It might have video games, it might not. It might have or it might not have video games, but it's most important thing is the incorporation of the elements of video games into non-game context. So when we did these activities a few years ago, uh, so these were my students. They were doing these activities, and of course, it looked very weird now when you look at it, because there's no mask, there's no physical distance. But that was back then, the world before the pandemic. So with this gamification, what we did was that, let's look at this one. This was the first level 1, zombie escape. So you can see here, we play a video where where it gives the students a situation where they have to escape zombie, and they need to be able to save everyone. So there are certain elements involved in it. There are constraints, particularly time. How much time do they have? Number of people, method that they can use, and number, that means there are few of them, not just one person. And this is our rubric, the rubric that we develop. When you look at the rubric, there are scores, and there are also rewards for each score. They are like fictional rewards used in the next task. And once they complete it, you can give them a badge. Congratulations, you have earned your badge for the first level. You are now entering the second level. Because when it comes to gamification, it's about incorporating the elements of video games. So usually for video games, when you play video games, when you score, when you are able to go to the next level, there's always like a congratulation badge or badge of honor that you get. Okay, so when you look at this, there are fictional rewards used in the next task. So when you go for a second task, level 2, so the rewards, the activity is that the students are given a certain amount of money, well, in a fictional context, and they need to purchase items with that amount of money to save them from apocalypse, right? From the zombie apocalypse. So as you can see in the previous one, they have this fictional amount of money, and they're going to add it on with the amount that they get, that they are given with in the second level. The thing about gamification, video games, is that each levels or each activities, they need to be related, because that's what gamification is, where different elements, where different activities, a series of activities are related. Because when you play video games, what you do at level 1 will affect your performance at level 2, and then it will continue to affect your performance in the following levels. So that's very important. That's the kind of element that we would like to incorporate into our activities. So as for, it's the same thing. There's a rubric, and then they get a badge. But this time, the rewards, it's not fictional amount of money, but it's extra time for the next task. All right. So if you guys have any questions, you may write it on the YouTube, on the chat box, and I might be able to answer them. So when we develop a project, we also should be able to look at existing literature. Okay, let's say, so let's say when we did the zombie challenge series, so we were looking at past literature about gamification, and it says here that gamification, we should focus more on, students should focus more on speed and accuracy. I'm sorry, yes. Okay, it shouldn't focus on speed and accuracy, because if you do that, the students will focus on just giving answers, but as quick as they can, but they are not really focusing on getting the right answer if you reward them merely based on time. And it's effective. So basically we limit it to only 10 minutes for each team. And gamification works best with older learners, so we use them for secondary, upper secondary students. And gamification is more effective in a classroom that is done in a shorter amount of time. So we only conducted it in 2 days. So it won't work well if you conduct it in one semester, the entire semester. It will only be very effective within a short amount of time. So with this innovation, I won Best Paper Presentation in Singapore in 2019, and I won gold medal in an innovation contest in Thailand. And then my next idea, it's called Think Tells. Think Tells, it's in Sabah there are lots of ethnic groups, Bajau, Dusun, Iranun, and I'm Bajau, and I speak Bajau, and I know a lot about it. So in 2018, I decided to use ethnic tales to encourage my students to learn English, yes, to embrace, to understand their own cultural identity, and to understand, to gain better understanding of other cultural ethnic groups in Sabah. So we were reading, we were writing, and we were sharing stories related to ethnic cultures in Sabah. So as you can see here, this was the poster of one of the activities that we did. They were the uh, magical creatures in the Bajo community, and there were some mythical creatures that we used to believe in our community. It's the loud, it's the guardian of the sea. Oh my God! So Sigai, it's a head hunting warlock. It's a very popular childhood story. Our parents like to terrify us with Sigai or Penait. They are warlocks. They went for the heads, especially children's heads. They like to decapitate children's heads or anyone's head and use them as sacrifice to, further expand their black magic. So that's the exciting part of Think Tell, so of my project. So since 2011, I have started writing short stories. They are in English language, but the stories are about ethnic cultures, the Bajau ethnic cultures, and I inserted some Bajau words and Bajau traditions, element of the ethnic groups in my stories. So as you can see here, some of these words, you might not be familiar with them because they are words in Bajau. Like tekok parai, what does it mean? Parai means paddy, tekok means hat. Okay, and seripak, this is seripak. It's the headpiece that a Bajau lady wears during wedding ceremony or other ceremony. And some of the creatures, and these are some of the magical creatures in the Baja community. So, so when you look at this, these are like some of the magical creatures that we Bajau used to adore. We sang to them, we dance around them. It's Numani, the spirit of life. So she's very important in making sure we were able to harvest from the paddy field every year. Sumanga, whenever we travel to the sea, Sumanga is important to help us get luck, that where we were able to catch more fish and to protect us from danger. So that's what Sumanga does. Mangilai is the maiden of the forest. The forest maiden, Mangilai, she gives forest its healing nature. Okay, so these were the magical creatures that my ancestors used to worship and adore. And I decided to immortalize them in short stories that I use in my teaching from for the Think Tell project. Yeah, there was some question to take part in innovation competition must be competition to be published. It's not. I won the Senior Australia Education Link Award with this project, and it doesn't have to be published. Even if you go for like story writing competition or book writing competitions, most of them do not require you, or if not all, do not require you to take part to publish your work, to have your work published. So, and these were some of the magical creatures that we were terrified of. Our parents like to scare us with these magical creatures. Okay, and there's Galap. She's a predator who lives in the water. She can become a beautiful lady, and then she lures the man into the water and then drown them. That's Kokok, a trickster, a sharp-shifting trickster. He can a Kokok can mimic anyone, can take any appearance. And Timbalun is the these magical creatures that carries disease. Okay, so I like to do this kind of stories and immortalize them in my writing. So what I did with the Think Tales project is that I got the students to read ethnic tales and then to write their own stories that are related to their cultural identity and we had this storytelling session where they were able to, tell their stories. So as you can see here, Dang Insum is a very famous tale among the Bisaya community, and then this girl, she's Bisaya. The Legend of Gunsoloy, it's a famous story among the Dusun community. And this lady, this girl, she's Dusun. Balan Balan is a famous tale among the Bajo community. It's a mythical creature in Kota Blut. And yeah, this boy, he's Bajo. So as you can see, students were sharing stories related to their own ethnic cultures. Okay. How long did it take for you to complete that innovative project? Well, it's a long process. I started writing short stories in 2011, and in 2016 I decided to focus more on ethnic tales and not just short stories that were universal. And I started to take part in competitions in 2018. So it's a long process for this project, but in some of my projects, it only took me about few weeks. Just 1 week for you to think about your idea, and then maybe 1 week for you to, or 1 to 3 weeks to try out the idea, and then you do the documentation. So it won't be that long. It depends on what kind of project and what kind of timeline that you are comfortable with. Yeah, storytelling, it's pretty interesting. And we did an English camp too. So as you can see, the students, they developed their own storybooks. These are storybooks that they developed. Sorry. And we co-organized an English camp, and then my students, those in blue shirts, they were my students, and they did a storytelling session and an acting session also with the children, where they shared the stories that they have written. And this was some of my students who have written short stories, poems, comics, written songs, and whenever they came up with something, with a literary piece, I always encourage them to get them published or to submit them for certain competitions. And these were my students who were able to gain recognition for their work. So these were just some of the techniques that I used before. In my think tales, it's a reading. First, they will be reading stories. So this was the template that we used, and then they wrote their own stories. So this was the template that I gave them. So with this idea, I won Senior Australia Education Link Award in 2018. I was the first Malaysia to win it, and I call it a comeback win because I was a top 5 finalist in 2015, but I didn't win. I decided to try again for the 2016 and 2007 cycle of that competition, but I didn't make it at all. I wasn't even a finalist. And then I decided to try it again in 2018 with this idea, Think Tells. Only then I got lucky. I was selected as a winner. So, and the prize was 10,000 Australian dollars. So you definitely should check this one out. And since I wrote short stories, I have taken part in some of the story writing competition. In 2019, I won the GCED storytelling contest with my story Galap. And in 2016, I was a finalist for Commonwealth class story writing with my story. It's called Black Black. So it's a story It's a story time. So this was one of the stories that I wrote. It's called Black Black, the Origin of Scarecrow. So what I did is that my student did the drawing. He did the drawing, and the story was written by me, but I changed it to a version that was much shorter. So one day there's this creature, live a unique being. He looked very different. His body was entirely made of straw. He was a kind-hearted person, but because of his look, people always stay away from him. Not just people, but also animals. And then one day, when he was in the forest, he saw an old man. The old man was carrying a pile of firewood, and this person, this unique being, he pitied the man, let me help you carry the firewood. But then the man immediately refused. He said, keep your distance away, you're evil, aggressive, said the man. And then the man just ran off, but he dropped his firewood. So he decided to pick up the firewood and return it to the village where this man lived. But then when the villagers saw him, they thought he was, he had an evil intention. So they immediately chased him away with fire and spears. So he ran and he ran and he ran, and then he went to this village. He arrived at this village where he could see there were so many crows ruining the parai. Parai means paddy field. Um, and he knew very well that that all animals, any animals, were scared of him. They always kept their distance away from him. So what he did, he ran into the middle of the paddy, and all of the crows, they immediately flew away, which what he predicted. And when the villagers saw this, the villagers saw potential in him. So they begged him, stay with us. It's been a very long time since we didn't manage to get any harvest because of these birds. But with you, by just being there in the middle of the paddy, field, all of these animals just ran away, just flew away, all the birds. So they saw potential in him. So they asked him to stay with him. And they loved him. They felt that he was a hero, so they gave him a name, Blek Blek. So what is Blek Blek? Blek Blek came from the word Blek, which means hawk in Bajau, a language that I speak. And Hawk was seen a powerful guardian, and that's how the villagers saw him, a hero. Why? Because he helped them save their paddy field, and he helped them get their harvest each year. And that's how Blek Blek, which then became known as scarecrow, came to their existence in the northern Borneo. So it's something like this that I usually like to do. Um, it's an ethnic tale. It has the element of Bajau words, Bajau tradition, but it's told in English because I know we are very familiar with Western fairy tales and folklore and fables like Little Red Riding Hood, but we don't really have our actual tales that we can talk about and preserve our cultural heritage, our ethnic identities. And at the same time, we can learn English, we can learn about moral values, and we can learn so many things. So my next project, it's called visual literacy. Now, when you look at this, these are emoji, right? So we use the emoji when we use the emoji, we don't need to use words, but people will be able to get our meaning. When we put this, that means we are happy. When we put this, that means we had this naughty idea. When people use this emoji, oh my God, something bad is about to happen. And there's also meme are pictures that are funny, that are satirical, that are just humorous, and we can use them to convey certain messages. And with social media, people like to use photo story. So these are the things where, as you can see here, there is no word here. So you can't say people are reading, people are not writing because they use pictures, people are not speaking or listening because it has no audio, but it is used as a form of communication. So with visual literacy, I argue that viewing, which is our skill, our ability to view, can be considered as a language skill. And if you look at these words like meme and emoji, these words didn't exist about 15 years ago or 20 years ago, but now they are common words that we use. It also shows how our language evolves according to the skills that we need to use, right? Okay, sorry. So sometimes when we use text like this, it's so difficult for students to respond, for us to elicit responses from students. But then when we use visuals, the students sometimes they feel more comfortable to, express their ideas, to speak up, because they are not constrained by words. Usually when we show them text, they tend to just lift everything from the text. They just simply, recite, repeat, and reread whatever that is from the text, even if we ask them questions in which the answers are not in the text. But with visuals, with no words, it can be more effective in getting them to respond more. And I had this strategy to help the students, learn more about visuals, right? So you can see this picture when when I used this picture with my class where the students had limited language proficiency, they were able to express so many ideas when they look at this picture. And I remember one of the students asked, when I asked them to ask a question, one of the students asked a question about the photographer. It's a picture, it's a dying boy. There's a vulture here. So the vulture was waiting for the boy to die, only then, that vulture will eat that boy. So one of the students asked a question that was about the photographer. It's a picture. There must be someone who took the photo. Did the photographer do anything to rescue the boy? I mean, he or she could have done something. So when that person asks that questions in the classroom, it's pretty amazing how creative or how critical they can be when we show them visuals, right? So visuals can be very powerful. So pictures can also be distorted. This was the picture that you see on the media, but this was the actual picture. So with just the cropping of the photo, the message change when you put them out on the world. So visuals can be used to distort, can be used to spread misinformation. So it's important for students to learn about visual literacy, or in a larger umbrella, visual literacy. All right. And with pictures also can reveal assumption. When I show this picture to my students, they were like, wow, look at them. They look so cute. Like, that's my brother. That's my younger brother. But then when I immediately show them this picture, the response from the students immediately changed. They were like, you, oh my God. Like, and then they started laughing at this picture, and they started, laughing at each other. Like, that's your brother. Okay, that's your brother, because you had dark skin, and he has dark skin. So you can see that's pretty much prejudice or assumption. By just showing visuals to people, you can learn about their assumption and their attitude on certain things. They might not know it. They might know it, but they might deny it, or they will say that they don't have that certain assumption. But with visuals, when they are being used, it reveals, assumption. It can help people reveal their true colors, what they really think about on certain things. So I had this technique, where there's a visual, and by when you ask students questions, you can do this, what I call as a concept map. And from the concept map, you can study how the students' ideas develop. So when I show them this picture, I got different ideas, responses from male students and female students. Female students refer to this person as an all woman. There's an all woman here. Is she okay? Is she fine? The male students refer to this person as a grandmother. So there's a cultural influence. Like, when somebody sees someone at that age, they assume that the person must have kids, and her or his kids must have children. That makes him or her a grandparent. And also, when it comes to male students, they focus more on the general event, like how did the flood happen? What did the government do to prevent the flood? And it's very different than the female students, because the female students ask more questions related to uh, this lady. Is she okay? Does she have family? What did they do with her? Where did they take her? So there's the the different responses that I got from male students and female students. They complement each other, and they also show how perspectives differ among men and women, or at least how the environment and the variables that affect their perspective. And of course, it can show their general knowledge. Most of them know it's in the US. So this kind of visual, we can use them to train the students in developing their thinking skills. So I'm just like looking at okay, if there's any questions, you might want to ask questions there. So should I? I'm not so, should I continue or should I take a break? I'm not so sure. The moderator.
Okay. Okay, doctor. All right. So we have one question here. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Do you incorporate these activities as part of your lesson, or do you separate it outside of the classroom?
I
Would you
well,
care to answer the question first?
yes. Yes. I definitely always incorporate this into my classroom. Sometimes some of the ideas they came up as co-curricular activities. As a co-curricular activities that are outside of the classroom, and I try to figure out how to integrate them into the classroom. Because at the end of the day, as teachers, it's very important for us to be able to use them in our classroom teaching. So what I usually do is that I use them as in a classroom teaching, like the short story writing. So they read short stories in the class, they write short stories, and then they share the short stories in our class. But if they if they would like to go beyond that, not all but few of the students, they might want to, let's say they want to publish their short stories, they want to take part in a storytelling contest. So that's where it crosses from classroom teaching to co-curricular activities, but that's not mandatory. I usually there will be few students who are interested to go beyond the classroom. But yeah, it's something that I've been doing in my lessons, and it is definitely applicable in our classroom practice. I hope that answers the question.
Okay, doctor. Right. Thank you for the answer. All right. So now, would you like to take a short break for a while? We have been talking
Yes,
since 3 o'clock. Yeah. Would you like to take for a break for a while?
yeah, that's possible.
Yes, doctor. Okay. Okay. Thank you. All right. So, okay, we'll just let our doctor take a short break. Pity him. Okay. Now, we would like to. Okay, I'll hand it over back to our host for our short break advertisement. Over to you, Sirhajwan.
Okay, it's time for a 5-minute break for the speaker. So while we wait for our speaker, let me welcome Sir Zanurin bin Muhammad Safa, the president of Delta, to say a few words.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you so much, Sarah, as the chairperson. All right. Of course, don't worry. I'll be here just for a short while, maybe for 2-3 minutes. First of all, of course, on behalf of Delta, I would like to thank Dr.Mohd Sirhajwan Idek, a well-known award-winning innovator. We salute you. Obviously, I'm here, ladies and gentlemen, for a few reasons. First of all, I would like to take the opportunity to promote Delta. Darul Aman English Language Learning and Teaching Association is a new organization. And for your information, Delta is not only for educators teaching in Kedah. However, we also open our doors to educators from all over Malaysia. So we welcome you to be members. And Mr. Shafiq, who is behind the scene, will share with you the link to become Delta members. All right. And Delta has been doing so much. Anyway, I don't wish to explain to all of you what Delta has been doing because I think you know. Many of you have been with Delta, and you can also visit our website for the list of activities that Delta has been organizing. Number two, I would like to highlight here, and I would also like to invite all of you to join our new channel, which is created in conjunction with our Read 3. our routine engagement on academic dialogue, the third one for 2021, and the name of this channel is Delta Innovation Channel for ELT practitioners, or in short, DISET. All right, we create this channel for you, for the English educators who are interested in innovation. Dr. Mohd Sirhajwan will be there, and there will also be other experts, other experienced educators who have been winning in innovation competitions. So we will be helping each other, we will be guiding each other so that we can have more and more innovative ELT practitioners. Ladies and gentlemen, finally, I would like to take this opportunity to announce, to inform that Delta is proud and honored to have Dr. Mohd Sirhajwan Idek as its first honorary member, Ahli Kehormat, for all the contributions, for all the success which he has achieved so far. All right. So we are very proud to have Dr. Mohd Sirhajwan with us today. So with that note, I guess that's all from me for now. So back to Sahara. Okay, thank you once again.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for the info. So, ladies and gentlemen, you can register to Delta and benefit more, as well as join the Telegram group for the innovation, informations, and all those kind of particulars. So, let me welcome again Kak Mas, the moderator, and Dr. Sirhajwan to continue the session.
Sarah. All right, welcome back, everyone. Thank you to our president, Mr. President, Mr. Zainuddin. Okay, and for all the recognition to Dr. Sirhajwan. Right, and the Telegram link has been shared. Please do join us, because even Dr. Sirhajwan will be with us to mentor, to guide us in our next innovation. Right, inshallah. Right, Doctor? Okay, and I've seen that there was questions posted in our comments, right? So we welcome more questions. Doctor will stop to answer your question, and do not be, what do you call that, taken back, yeah, because we entertain a question in Bahasa Melayu as well. Please ask question, right? So that it will be more interactive. Okay, so thank you to everyone. Now we'll call back Dr. Sirhajwan to continue with his session. It's on you.
Hi, okay, so I'm sharing all the screen. So let's look at the slide. There. Okay. So when it comes to ideation, there are technical aspects that it will help you to develop your ideas. It will help you in presentation, and it will help you in your writing. Problem statement, target group, devising a solution, novelty of that project, your objective, your research questions, and your monitoring plan, evaluation, replicability, scalability, and sustainability. And the last one, I put it there as the anchor. Problem statement. So when you go for any competition, basically pretty much anything, when you want to go for a competition, when you want to apply for a grant, when you present at a conference, when you do a research, you need to have problem statement, right? And in your problem statement, there are things that you need to be very specific when you want to address it. Like what is the problem? The first one I put here, sorry. So I put here as what is the problem, and who are affected, who are involved, if they are not animals, but I think for us teachers, most of them are, they will be humans. If they are not humans, are they? If they are animals or plants, and where is the location of this problem that you are trying of where this problem takes place, the causes, or at least the possible causes of the problem, and the effects of this problem if it is not tackled, and what needs to be done, your idea, and then you can introduce the solution in your problem statement, and then you briefly explain how the solution might work. So I did this. I know it's very wordy, but I'm just trying to show you, how you can write a problem statement. It can be longer than this. Maybe if you want to write a page, 2 pages, or it can be shorter. So what is the problem here? Students, they are, so you can see the red color, what? And students, they are unable to verbalize their own original ideas in their own words during reading tasks. That means when they do reading tasks, when you ask them questions, they just recite or lift whatever that they can read from the text without coming up with their own answers. Okay, and who are involved? Upper secondary school students. So you might want to be specific in that. So if you are doing innovation in teaching, obviously the who will be your students, your own class, and where you can have some location like interior region of Sabah, basically where you are, right? So it's a bit easier with innovation in teaching, I think. So you can talk about the possible causes and effect. Why do we think that the students, they are not able to come up with their own original ideas during reading tasks? Because concern in making mistake, they are afraid in making mistake. They know that if they try something that is not in the text, they might be making mistakes, and they don't want to make mistakes. Okay, so but then what are the effects if it's not solved? It might They might not be able to develop their language skills and thinking skills, because what they do, they just simply recycle the information from the text, the words from the text. And sometimes they don't even really understand it. Okay, so it might hinder them from developing their language skills. So what needs to be done? We need a different stimuli with the students who are shy, who are reluctant to speak English, who don't really have the confidence to respond in English language, and who find it very difficult to understand the reading text. They might need different stimuli, okay, other than text. So introduce the solution. What is your solution? Maybe photos, wordless photos that can help students, that might encourage students to actually say something, and they are not, they are going to say, express thoughts of their own in their own words, because basically there's no text or words that they can access to during that time, since you are showing them photos. And explain briefly how the solution might work. Because when you show them photos, there's no text in the photos, so they just have to. It makes them feel comfortable to explore their own thoughts and express them freely without the fear of making mistakes. Okay, which they might feel if they with articles that have text. Now, this is a good stimuli for students with limited proficiency. It might not work so well with students already who are already very proficient in the language. So this, what I'm trying to show you here is that how you can look at the aspects of the problem statement that you need to have, and it will help you to think about it too. And then you move to target group. In your target group, you need to think about who, where, and why. And when it comes to who, your students, their level of education, the type of community they come from, their socioeconomic condition. If they come from low-income families, that might influence their attitude and perspective. If they come from urban community, that might influence their perspective or their daily routine. If they come from the rural community, it will also have different effects on their daily life. And they might live in different geographical locations. Like here, let's say in Keningau and in Kota Kinabalu, two different places in the same state. People Malaysian Sabahans in the same state, maybe different, same native language, nearly the same day, same age, but just the geographical location. Kota Kinabalu, which is close to the sea, it has lots of beaches, and Keningau, which is surrounded by mountains, it influenced the students' daily life and life experience and daily activities and perspective. So that's why it's important for us to, when we narrow our target group, we need to think about who they really are. And then where, whenever you want to solve a problem, innovation, you might, the more specific it is, the better it is. Because if you say that I have this teaching technique and I want to, and I think it can help students all over Malaysia to learn English better. So it's a bit too ambitious, when you say all over Malaysia. You might want to narrow it down. Sabah, okay? But still, Sabah is a huge state. It's a state, it's a huge one. So it might be too ambitious. So you go for interior region. Interior region in Sabah here in my place, there are 4 districts. And you might want to narrow it down to your own district. In my case, it's Keningau. Okay, it doesn't mean that you cannot replicate or scale up your ideas. You can and you should, but it's good to at least start in your own classroom, at your own school, in your own district, and then slowly scale it up. Rather than for you to have an idea and then you immediately go, target a very large demographic location and geographic, and you would like to cover a much larger geographical location. And of course, you need to have justification. Why does this group need help? It could be their exam results. It could be their behavioral responses in the past on English language. So there are many justification that you can have why they need certain help. So let's say, okay, I'm just going to skip this one. So yeah, I won the Easter Literacy Innovation Award based on the visual literacy just now. So if you remember my ideas, I was using visual literacy to teach students reading, and I got a grant too for that kind of idea. So when you devise a solution, there are certain things that you need to look at, like what do you know, and what do you have access to, and what have you discovered, and how can you make it relevant. So devise a solution. So this is the stage. Your solution is basically your innovation, right? Your idea, your project. So you ask yourself, what do you know? When you want to solve a certain problem, like think about anything that you know, the movement, the policy, the social issues, theories that you have learned, the community where you are in, the materials that you use, textbooks or digital materials, the skills that you have. And then you ask yourself, what access do you have, like at your schools or in your own community? Like I know, like at my school, we have computer labs, and the computer labs, they are well equipped. They have internet. The students have access to internet, and around our area, we have, usually in Keningau, we have farmland. We have a museum here too, and then we have lots of people doing businesses, local businesses. Okay, and then what have I discovered? So these are the things that you learn from reading, attending conference, listening to webinar, all sort of theories, literature, scholarly knowledge that you have gained. And then most important thing is that how can you make it relevant? That means, when you have all these ideas, all these tools, all these materials, all these access, how are you going to connect it to your classroom teaching? So usually for teachers, our innovative technique will be, the focus is usually in classroom teaching, but you definitely can expand it further to curricular activities and community work and so on. So these are some of the things that might help you, that I hope it can help you to develop your own project, okay, your own solution for the problem that you have in your classroom teaching. Somebody is asking a question: what is the best way to break the malu-malu barrier of our students to get our job done? I understand the students, they can feel very shy. I think it's very important for us to develop that environment where they, for the students to be able to present. We need to develop an environment where we are there to help this, to make the students feel like they have help, they have support, they have, you as the teachers will be there to help them all the time. So I think I find it very important, and I usually talk to my students at personal level just to make them feel more comfortable. Like, you don't worry, I'm here, I'm going to help you. If you need help, you can always refer to me, anytime on WhatsApp and on Telegram. I think it's very important for them to have that kind of environment, and I think it's good in the classroom where you are able to do activities that can mimic our everyday use of language, like activities where they can share they talk to their peers about about their hobby, about what they like, the music that they like. It's something that mimic our real life interaction. It can be in the classroom. I like to pair the students and they interview each other with questions about their personal interests, about their knowledge, about their preference, and all these sort of interesting questions that I got from the internet. All these kind of activities will help them to break the barriers and feel more comfortable to speak English and feel like English isn't really alien to them, because they can use it to talk about things in a more contextualized and personal manner. Okay. So I hope that can answer your question. But usually we have to create an environment where the students feel safe, they feel supported, that you are there to help them, okay, as a teacher. And one of the things that you need to do is that you need to highlight the novelty of your solution. Whenever you have a project, people might ask, somebody has already done this. Somebody in West Malaysia have used this. Somebody in Sabah has used this. People in the United States have used this. So how can your project be different? So, you might want to ask yourself, what makes it special? What is so special about it? Or what's new about it? Maybe it has been done, but you are turning it into digital platform, or you are using a digital tool, new video games, virtual platform to do it. Or maybe you are integrating sustainable global goals into it, or you are covering more topics, or you are covering new topics that people are not familiar with. And most important thing is that you need to highlight how can it be different than what we already have, because we already have all of these teaching techniques. We might have them exactly the same, or maybe not exactly the same, but we might have techniques that are quite similar to it, and other people have used it. They're already in the textbook, they're already on the internet. So how can it be different? So you need to be able to highlight this, the novelty of your solution, highlight how is it different than what we already have done and have access to. So since we are English language teachers, it's very helpful to use language, verbs, like here, comparative adjectives. It's more relatable. It's more practical. Okay. So let's say, yeah, it's through real life activities. So real life activities, they are more practical. They are more relatable. Or maybe verbs that indicate change. It helps to motivate the students. It helps to stimulate their artistic abilities. It helps to clarify the complex grammatical components of the language. So verbs and adjectives that compare something, or verbs that indicate change, it might help to highlight the novelty of your solution. So when I did the Think Tiles project, it's a very common. I think it's a common project in a way that I use ethnic tiles. It's a story reading, story writing, and storytelling activities. But what makes it different, where I really argue, is that we are so exposed to Western fairy tales, and we have our own local ethnic fairy tales, but we don't really highlight them. And my project, Think Tales, it focuses on these ethnic tales to help students to feel that it helps them to bridge the gap uh, of their own ethnic identities with the English language that they usually see as an alien, completely foreign language. It helps them to feel proud of their cultural identities. It helps them to integrate their cultural elements that they are familiar with into the English language. Okay, so these are some of the graphics related to my stories. And we also need to highlight objective, right? Sometimes we have we managed to highlight the problem. It's a very convincing problem, well explained problem, and we have this amazing idea. But then the solution doesn't seem to be solving the problem. It doesn't seem to tackle the problem in a convincing way, or maybe in a direct way. So that's the importance of phrasing our objective so that it really shows the link between our solution and our problem. So it's either to now you can always use verbs to increase, to improve, to reduce. The solution is to improve their interest, improve their mastery in listening skills, to reduce the emotional barriers from learning about new topics and so on. I'm sure you guys are familiar with research questions. Now, when we ask research questions, look at these questions. What happened to the quality of student writing when we implement peer editing to our ninth grade English classes? So the question is, what happens? So when we devise a research question, it is not advisable to come up with research questions that are biased in a way that you already have your assumptions. How effective the teaching technique is in improving students' writing. So you already asked a question, how effective? That means you already have this assumption, this biasness that you believe the technique is effective, and you are looking at how effective it is. Is it very, very effective or maybe moderately effective? So, it's not good to have assumption. Otherwise, it will definitely influence your ideation, your research, your innovation. So the best question is questions that are neutral. Let's say, what happens to the quality of students' writing? Because it might be effective, it might not be effective at all, or it might have some effects, but not the one that you expect or you truly desire, but they might be beneficial. Okay, so that's why it's important to have neutral reading research questions. So you can see here question stem. What happens? How does? How can? On what? Okay, what happens to the quality of student writing? So we are looking at what happened to the quality of student writing on what and who? The ninth grade English class. It's very specific. And what are we looking at? What are we really studying at? We are studying the peer editing technique. So what happens to the quality of student writing when we use the peer editing on this particular class, right? What is among the interesting technique to teach youngsters in sentence writing? I like to show them visuals because I was talking about visual literacy. So you show them visual, it has no words, it's a picture, interesting pictures, and you can get the students to come up with, to explain the pictures by just writing a sentence. So I think that will help them to come to obviously do sentence writing. But I like using visuals so to get the students to write. Or maybe you can use the journalist question, so WH question, what, where, why. They're very simple technique, but it will help them to construct sentence, and then from there they can construct a paragraph, and hopefully from a paragraph they can construct a full-fledged essay. So one of the things that we need to look at, it's very common when you go for competitions or when you want to apply a grant, that people will be asking, how are you going to make sure that your project will be carried out according to how you plan it is to be? Okay, so you might need to look at these words like regular meetings. So you might, when you do your writing and your presentation, you might want to talk about that you're going to have regular meetings with your mentor, with your teammates. Okay, physical or virtual. You might want to do report on regular basis, maybe a monthly report. You might want to have an alternative or backup plan. Let's say if you're planning a face-to-face event or in-person event, and there's a pandemic lockdown, but then you are able to switch to virtual events. So you might want to look at expense and budget track. So that's very important. And you want to look at roles too, like mentors, facilitators, partners. So it's very common when you develop a project, you might not have that adequate skills and expertise and knowledge, but you can always have mentors who help you with that, with it. You can always train other people to become your facilitators, and you can partner with certain institutions, individuals, organizations. And then people will be asking, um, how do you evaluate your project? Now, how are you going to be sure, how are you going to evaluate the success of your project? If you win this competition or if you are given this grant, how are you going to evaluate the success of your project? So that's also a very important part. There's also a typical question that you get when you go for innovation contests. So you might want to say number of participants. If you have more students who are able to apply the techniques, so that might show how the impact of your project, of your innovation. You can definitely study their opinions. You survey, you distribute survey, you interview the students in this case. Tangible changes, that means changes that you can see physically. Like if it's previously the students, they, let's say previously the students, they um, they don't, let's say they don't really, when you give them instructions, I'm sorry, they don't bring the textbook to their school, to your class. They don't bring the English textbook, but afterwards they always carry the textbook to English class after you do a certain intervention, which can be your innovation. So that might work. That might be tangible changes in your classroom. But the tangible changes here, it can be like in a non-teaching context, it's like XR. Before you do XR and after you do XR. Let's say XR is your innovation. So you can see before XR, if the toilet is very dirty, the toilet doesn't have any plants, and then after XR, it completely changes. It's very clean, very organized. It has lots of flowers and plants inside it. So that's tangible changes. Results, it's obviously, like pre-test and post-test, you can see the students improve in terms of results. Often they are measured by numbers or statistics. And then behavioral responses. This common thing, sometimes you might not, or you don't want to focus too much on statistics. You might just want to focus on behavioral responses. Previously in my class, the students, they look very sleepy, they were very quiet, but when I conducted this technique, they became very excited. They became very proactive. They become very quick in responding to any questions that I asked them. They display a level of excitement, motivation, and cooperation. So you can also use behavioral responses as the indicator of the success of your project. Or maybe if you haven't conducted the project, let's say it's a proposal, how are you going to, you can justify it as ways to evaluate the impact or the success of your project. So some of the aspects that judges, they like to look at, it's called replicability, scalability, and sustainability. So for replicability, it's about, when you have this certain topic, a certain technique, certain material for English language, they might ask, can we replicate this to other topic, to other subjects like mathematics, English language, Malay language, history, or if you are using it for a particular technique in, let's say, in a subject-verb agreement, can we replicate it to other grammatical topics in the English language? So usually you should always answer yes, but then some adjustments are needed. Let's say when I get the text, when I get the Think Tells project, remember the Think Tell project, I use ethnic tells in Sabah, and the organizer, one of the questions that I got from the question stated in the form is that how do you replicate this technique in other contexts? So I can easily say, for now the project is about ethnic tells in Sabah, but in Southeast Asia, because the competition is for Southeast Asian, in any countries in Southeast Malaysia, there are lots of indigenous tribes. And even in Malaysia, in West Malaysia, we might not have that many indigenous tribes, but you can adjust it to according to the states. Like each Kedah has its own ethnic tells. Terengganu has its own ethnic tells. So whenever you get this question, replicability, can it be replicated to a certain extent? Yes. You should say, yes, it can be replicated. And of course, you need to show how it can be replicated in a way that certain adjustments are needed. Scalability, it's very different than replicability. Scalability is that can you go beyond the original concept? Like if you use that in your school, let's say my school, Keningau Vocational College, it works. It seems to be working. Can it be scaled up? Can we use it in other schools in Sabah? Or can we use it in other vocational colleges or schools in Malaysia? So you should always say, yes, it can be scaled up. And of course, certain adjustment might be needed. Sustainability is that how do you sustain the project? When you win a competition, sometimes you get grant, you get money, and then for you get grant. Let's say you get grant to carry out your project or to expand your project, and then the question is, once the grant is over, once you finish using the money, will you be able to continue the project? So, or will you just stop? If you say that you're going to stop, you're not going to continue it, it will not sound very good. So you always say, yes, I will be able to sustain it. And this is how it's going to be sustained. So your sustainable plan might include charging fee, minimal fee. If you are doing workshop, you have this innovation, you can do workshop and you charge minimal fee. You have this innovation, you can start commercializing some of them, or you can work with certain partners and they that have invested interest in your project, so they might cover some expenses. So no, certain things that you need to be thinking about. Can the impacts be shown? There's a question here from Delta. Can the impact be shown through a pre-test and post-test which only involve a small group of learners? Let's say only 10 students. Is it acceptable for an innovation contest? Uh, it's ideally we need more than 10. If it's a test, uh, I think the ideal number is 30. It's not ideal, probably the minimum number. But if you would like, it can still be accepted if you do it on 10 students. But obviously you need to have justification, like a strong justification. I only do it for 10 students because only these 10 students that have problems in their writing. Only these 10 students who are not able to speak, not even an English words. Okay, so you need to have justifications. It's very interesting because during this pandemic, most of the time we don't have that, we are not able to reach the ideal number of respondents due to pandemic restrictions. So you can talk about it. Due to the pandemic restrictions, we are not allowed for, 30 students to be in one room of this certain size. Only 10 students can be in that particular room. So this is the reason why the number of respondents is lower than the recommended number. Okay, so you can use that as your justification, not as an excuse, but it's your justification. So the anchor, when you go for certain competition, you need to be able to appeal. You need to be able to highlight certain things that appeal to the organizer, something that meet the expectation, something that draw them in, something that really captures their attention, something that they just feel so compelled to to choose your project as the winner. So usually I'll be looking at, if I'm taking part in a competition abroad, the international competitions, I'll be looking at the country and I'll, I'll I will focus on highlighting the elements in my projects that are consistent with certain elements that are unique to that particular countries, or certain policy. It can be policy, it can be cultures that have been practiced by that particular country. So when we won the YCLE, which is based in the USA, so we use the word STEAM because in US STEAM is already it's a common term that they use. They are not really using STEM anymore. And then my project that won Senior Australia, it focused on indigenous styles because in Australia they have they promote and they preserve the aboriginal cultures of the indigenous people. So I try to highlight the similarities in these elements. Okay, so in 2016, I won Macmillan Teacher at My Heart. It was just a one-off competition. They have never done that again. And my tech, it's Macmillan is based in the UK. And what I did is that I used thinking tools promoted by Thinking School International, which is based in the UK, because I had this belief that since the competition is based in the UK, I should be using certain tools and techniques that have been practiced or have been promoted by any major organizations or institutions in the UK. And I think that's why I was chosen as one of the 5 winners. And it was in 2016, so I was able to go to the UK for 2 weeks. And when I won the ISTE Literacy Innovation Award in 2019, I focused on visual literacy. Why? Because when I look at some of the materials from the US, they already highlighted visual literacy as a language skill. So I knew that if I use this in my application, it might be convincing to the organizer, because it's something that that country has been practicing. And same goes with 21st. And I also talk about information literacy, because during that time, information literacy wasn't really popular yet. And in the US, their 21st century learning framework, information literacy is a part of it. So always use something that appeals to the organizer. Now, it won't work so well. Let's say you are going for a competition that is based in the US. Could be a competition by the State Department in the United States. But then in your application, you keep talking about the cultures in China or the policies in Japan. So it might not work so well, because it's something that it doesn't really draw them in. It's not really compelling to them, because you are not using the elements that they are looking at. And in most competitions, like the Senior Australia Education Link, like competitions based in the Washington State Department of the United States, they will clearly state of the elements that they want to have in the applications, which are consistent with what the United States is doing. So when you look at the main aspects now, there are certain parts. Remember, novelty, impact, scholarly support. So let's talk about the opportunities, right? Yatafel Scholarship. So Yatafel Scholarship, if you guys know Yatafel, it's a conference in the UK. They do that every year, except last year and maybe this year they are virtual. It's not that they don't do it, but they are being done as virtual events. There are over 30 scholarships, and I know a lot of people say, well, I can't apply the Yatafel scholarship because I'm not a member. Actually, some of the scholarships do not require the applicants to be Yatafel member. In fact, the scholarship that I won, I wasn't even a member at all. But it's a scholarship that was open to everyone, regardless whether they are members or not. And when you look at the scholarship, there are 30 scholarships, but each scholarship has its own price. They are not exactly the same. I won the Express Publishing Scholarship, which helped me to cover my travel expense. That will be my flight ticket, my accommodation, there's conference fee, and then there's a remaining amount of money as my allowance when I was in the UK. So you need to look at it because it's still open. The Yatafel scholarships were 2022, and in 2022 they are doing the Yatafel conference in Belfast. I don't know how to pronounce it. Okay, so the deadline here, application deadline 28 July 2021. So today is 17 July. So you have about 11 more days. So you're going to have ample time. So let's look at the question. So there are so many scholarships, but most of them have almost similar questions. So Express Publishing Scholarship criteria. You have to be an EFL teacher. Okay, check, you are. You commit to writing an article about 1,000 words. Of course, you will do that article. And you agree to give a presentation at the Yatafel conference with pleasure, definitely. So to qualify, you are definitely qualified. To be considered, you must submit an online speaker proposal by the scholar. Okay, and this proposal, how many words? For the time being, 400 to 500 words. So that's your main entry. That's what they're going to judge you at. The 400 to 500 words, where you describe your teaching approach, and how it has been influenced by recent development in ELT. Well, since COVID-19 is pretty much a universal issue, you might want to talk about it. Anything that where it adapts well, any theory that help adapt your teaching practice to COVID-19, and it provide a practical example of how your approach has helped in your teaching. Okay, dealing with difficult students, motivation, skill development. So check, you are definitely qualified. I'm sure you have lots of ideas. So remember, check it out. Not just this scholarship, there are many scholarships. You can apply for 2, 3, 5 scholarship at a time for one cycle. When I submitted my application, I once submitted 7 application for 7 scholarships. I also submitted 5 scholarship, 5 application for 5 scholarships, and I won 1. Okay, so you don't have to narrow your option to just 1 scholarship. So this was me in during the conference in Brighton, UK in 2018. Okay, and why solicit for the future? That's why solicit for the future is it's a What's YSILI? It's Young Southeast Asian Leaders Initiative. It's based in Washington, D.C., U.S. It's through U.S. State of Department. They don't pick one winner. They pick how many winners? 25 winners from where? From Southeast Asia, because it's basically Young Southeast Asian Leaders Initiative, right? So you have more chance to win it because they don't just pick one winner a year. They pick 25 winners a year. Okay, and then the maximum amount of grant you can apply up to 15,000 USD. So that's the maximum amount. You can't apply 16, 20, 25, which amount that goes beyond that, but you definitely can apply for an amount that is below that, like 10 USD, 5 USD, 5,000 USD, 10,000 USD. But you don't apply to amount that is too low, like it's 15,000 USD, but you just apply 1,000 USD or 500 USD. So that's too low. It will not be convincing too. So when we went for this competition, when we applied for the grant, we applied for 11,000 USD. But of course, we have the budget and the justification of our budget that we actually need the 11,000 USD. Okay, and then we won. We got it. So our project title was Eureka Hub. So you definitely should check this one out too. So these are some of the questions. You need to have maximum 15 pages proposal. So it's 15 pages, but that's maximum. So don't worry. So you might have 5, 7 pages, 10 pages is still okay. So you can look at these questions. These are the questions. They are not exactly questions, but the aspects that you need to cover in your proposal for the YSILI seat for the future. So you can see there's a problem statement. You need to have that. Objectives, yep. Method and design, how are you going to achieve it? So see, you can see here, monitoring and evaluation plan, which is what I highlighted before. So that's why it's very important for you to think about that. And future funding for sustainability. So again, this question came out here, and key personnel and so on. And then, okay, this is the scoring part for the YSILI for the future. So you go and check it out. This was us, since we won this last year, not 2021, 2020. So we had this brief, we had almost monthly meeting with the mentors. The U.S. Embassy based in Malaysia, as well as the State Department based in the Washington. So the project that we won, it's a STEM project. So we had all the drones and 3D printing and IC cars on all these sort of STEMs that are related to emerging technologies. The Simon Grinnell Award, it was launched this year, 2021. It awards one English language project a year. And then when we applied, we made it to the final round. And in the final round, we had a 45-minute interview and presentation. And all 3 finalists had 45-minute interview with 5 panels before they pick one winner. And then the winner got pound sterling, British pound sterling, 1,500, and mentoring for 6 months. And now project title was dialed up. So the award is going to be annual. So they're going to organize it again next year. So you definitely should check this one out too. So this is the questions that we have to answer when we apply for the project. So you could see that the questions might be the same. It does ask about sustainable. How is this project sustainable? So I did talk about that. It's very important for you to pay attention to sustainability and how are you going to make your project convincing in terms of sustainability. So I'll just show you guys briefly. I'm not going to go through each of these. So this was us in the final interview. So there were two of us, me and Madam Nurazila, and these were the 5 panels based in the UK. So we presented our project for 10 minutes, and the rest of the 45 minutes we spent them asking questions from the panels. So for the project Dao Dao that was awarded with Simon Greenell Award, we focused on arts, as you can see here, language poetry, storytelling, readers theatre, all sort of art projects. The Senior Australia Education Link Award, it's an award given by the Government of Australia. It's done every 2 years. So the next one will be 2023, I think, because this year they have this year 2021, but the deadline has passed and they already announced the winner. So you can go for 2022 or 2023. It's either they do it the year before or the year after. So previously they only pick one winner, but since this year they pick not one but 2 winners, and each winner gets Australian dollar 10,000 Australian dollar. So what did I use the money for? We had a trip to Australia with my student. We organized English camp, and I used a lot of the money to pay artists to draw animation for my stories. And finally, you can apply for TESOL Teacher of the Year. So it's still open for application this year. So you can see here, 19 July, that's the deadline. If you win it, you get a fully funded trip to attend, not just attend, but speak at TESOL conference in the US. TESOL conference is one of the 2 biggest conference in English language educators in the world. The other one is YATAFEL, and you get USD 1,000 USD and some other prizes. Actually, you can, yeah. So I applied 5 times. I was shortlisted 3 times, but I never won. And then I don't feel like applying anymore. But you definitely should give it a try. TESOL Teacher of the Year. You can see the deadline, 19 July. Today is 17 July. So you have 2 more days to apply. So with that, thank you so much. It's the end of my presentation. If you have any questions that you might type them on the chat box, or or you can ask them directly.
Okay, Shafiq, am I in? Okay, doctor, such a wonderful sharing session. Thank you so much. Right, it's beyond expectation actually. Right, now we are waiting for others, for the viewers to ask questions. Right, but may I ask you one simple question, doctor? Right. Basically, how do you display your innovation, right? Focus, for example, on these ethnic tales. Was it in the video times, or any other ways of displaying it to the panels, doctor?
Usually, I show them in I put them in like the short stories. They are in written form. So basically, what I did was that I submitted my short stories in Microsoft Word, like a compilation of short stories. That's one of the things that I like to do. And the other thing that I like doing is that I like to include my research papers. So the research papers, I just got some research papers, and they were not even published papers, but just like a full research paper with all the problem statement, the findings, and I usually use them as supporting materials to along with with my answers or essay for the application, because these are the things that might help to strengthen your application when you go for any competition. Some documentations. So yeah, that's how I usually don't use videos in the past, but we know nowadays, with the pandemic, a lot of we tend to use videos. But before the pandemic, I hardly use videos in my application. I hope that answers the question. So there's
Okay,
a
all right.
question
Do you have any
here.
more questions here?
There's a
Yeah, do
question
you have any
here
more questions here? Okay. Okay.
from one Hasniza Osman. What inspired you to join
Hmm.
competition in the first place? Many of us have a desire to do so, but we never take the first step. What inspires me is that uh, it's just that I'm not so sure how actually that maybe when I first started taking part in competition, I discovered this competition, Macmillan Teacher at My Heart in 2015, and I didn't think that I was qualified for it. I immediately forwarded it to other teachers, English teachers. I asked them to apply, but they didn't feel like applying, so I just decided to go for it, and then I was selected as a winner, and I was so surprised. And from that day on, I felt like I could, if I could win one competition, I could win more competition. But the thing is, in 2015, I wanted to further my study to the UK, because I've never been to the UK, but it didn't work out. The scholarship, and then there were many other constraints too. So I decided to just, it's best if I could just get 2 weeks to the UK to attend a brief course, because I know in the UK they have this 2 weeks course during summer. And when I discovered that competition, Macmillan Teacher at My Heart, the prize was 2 weeks short course in the UK. So I decided to apply for it. So I think that helped me. That helped. That was my first inspiration to take part in the competition. And of course, when I won that competition, I felt like, I didn't expect myself to win, but then I won. So it gave me that idea that you know people, your ideas, sometimes we underestimate our ideas. That's the thing. We have all
Very
these
true.
excellent ideas. We work hard for it, and we are proud of it. We are very excited about it. But what happened is that we underestimate ourselves. Like, if I go out there,
Discipline
people
to
will not be
yourself.
looking at my ideas. Okay, but then the truth is, you just have to believe in your ideas and really be convincing. You need to you need to feel confident in your ideas for people to feel confident in you. Because sometimes when you go for competition, it's one thing that they are looking at you. It's one thing that they are looking at your project. It's one thing that they are looking at you, who are doing this project. How convinced you are in that project. So I hope that answers the question. Very
Okay,
informative.
doctor. All right. And another one is, okay, you mentioned that you started on your own first, and then only you created a groups by groups, right?
Yes.
So actually, how do you motivate your colleagues and students to take part in any innovation projects or any innovation competitions?
Um, I usually approach them in person, because at my school I am the head of research and innovation. So obviously it's pretty much my job. There's pressure, right? There's pressure for you to do that. Like, that job is basically to get teachers to do research and to do innovation.
Very
So
true.
it's a part of it, but usually I'll just talk to the teachers in person. I know at school sometimes if you just give a general instruction, okay, everybody, I want this year for some of you to take part in competition, for you and you and you to take part in competition, or for you to simply post something on WhatsApp or Telegram group, nobody is going to respond. But if you actually really talk to each of the teacher, maybe not all of the teachers, there are too many teachers, but one teacher at a time, talk to them in person, understand them, learn about what they do, what they're interested in. It's easier at school because, when you are at school, I can see some of my colleagues, their teaching materials, their teaching techniques, what are they doing in their class. You can see that, and you can help them, like offer them support to develop their ideas, and then you are always there to help them. That's very important because our colleagues, they need to feel supported. Like, there's always somebody that they can refer to that will be there to help them. And especially when for us, we are English language teachers, so we don't really have problems with language. But I think most of our colleagues who are not teaching English, they don't have that confidence to speak in the English language. That's another barrier that they have. And as an English, well, luckily, since I'm the head of research and innovation, but at the same time, I'm also an English language teaching. I'm also an English language teacher, so I'm able to help them with the language. But usually what I do is that I ask them to do everything on their own in English, slideshows, script, reports, and then I will help to proofread and edit it. But I'm not going to do it for them because otherwise it will not be their work, it will be my work, and it's supposed to be their work. So I hope that answers the question. But usually, I know at school we have about 200 teachers for vocational colleges. So for me to try to cover even 50% of the teachers in a year or in 2-3 years, it's so difficult. So I'll usually just focus on few individuals first, like 1, 2, 3. It's better to have few individuals than to try to cover to get everybody to do it, but then it doesn't really work so well. So I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, Alhamdulillah. Okay, you have answered almost all the question asked. And then we can see in the chat box, everybody is thanking you for these inspiring, enlightening sessions, and motivating us to take part in the what do you call that, innovation project or competitions. All right. So and some what do you call that? They're trying to reach you for further information. Okay, now we have our Telegram group, right? Okay, please register to the. Sorry, just join us in our Telegram group. May we have the link again? Okay, so that our friends can join us in our Telegram group created by Delta, and our Dr. Sirhajwan, doctor will be here with us, and he's going to mentor us, guide us in our future innovation. Yeah, so may we have the link again, right? And then okay, so before we end our session, it's 5 o'clock already. It's, 5:11. Thank you so much, doctor. We really appreciate your effort, your contribution, your sharing, and everything. Yeah, it is such a beneficial session with us. Thank you so much, and we hope that you will be with us more and more, okay, and especially in our Telegram group, assisting us, mentoring us. Thank you so much, doctor. Okay, so with that, I thank you, and I'll just hand over back to our host, Miss Sarah. Thank you so much. Assalamualaikum.
Hi. Okay, I'm back again. Wow, it was a mind-blowing, inspiring, and motivating session. I myself learned a lot. I guess our brain is by now full of information, and some of you might have working on executing your plans. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the insert link is on the screen and in the the chat box. You can fill in your details for insert, and it is auto-generated. And you should be receiving it in few minutes if your connection is good. But a kind reminder, please check your email address and your name is spelled correctly before clicking the submit button. Okay, again, I would like to remind that please check your email address and your name, okay, the spelling of your name before clicking the submit button. The link will be active for only an hour. For SPL KPM, participants have to fill in your details on your own. Okay, Delta will not fill in for SPL KPM as we are NGO. And before we end our session, we are still looking at the chat box if there is any question. Okay, because Doctor and Kak Mas is still with us. I
don't think we have any more questions. Yeah.
No, already. Okay. Thank you, Kak Mas, and thank you, Doctor, for this wonderful session. Okay, thank you for your time despite all your busy schedule. Thank you very much for spending some time for Delta. Okay, thank you everyone for being with us for almost 2 hours. It's more than 2 hours. Okay, 2 hours and
More
14
than two
minutes and
hours.
8 seconds. Okay. Hope to see you all in another session soon. Okay. I think the link for ESET is still there. So clicking on it and please fill in before we
Okay,
leave.
we have one question, Sarah. How do we
Yeah,
get the
sure.
details of the bank to be a member? Okay, our friend is interested to be our Delta member. Okay, um, Mr. Zanurin, would you like to answer that? How do we get the details of the bank to be a member? Do we can we share it here, or maybe we will share in the Telegram group?
I think we can share in our
Yes.
innovation Telegram group. Okay, we will share the details of how to be a member and to register to be a member in the Telegram group.
Mhm.
So everyone can
Do join
calculate.
us.
Yeah, but please join the Telegram group.
Yes,
Don't
please join
forget.
us.
Yeah, please join us. You'll get a lot more information about all the activities we are going to conduct. Time to time, we will conduct very interesting and fruitful activities. So don't forget to register and join our team. Okay, Delta stands
And
for
we can
all.
start small. And we can start small, yes, Sarah.
Yeah,
We can start
exactly.
from basic. Yes.
And I would say that many experts are in Delta team. Okay, a lot of Delta members are experts, and we are also connecting through with all the other experts from outside of Delta. So hope that we will have more network by joining Delta. So thank you everyone. Thank you for this session, Delta, and also thank you participants. Thank you very much. Thank you so much.
Assalamualaikum.